Well, I guess we'll see if there's a if there's a way up there. I'm about to find out. It certainly looks pretty cloudy up there. I don't see any snow low down, but all those clouds and the snow on the mountains behind me, which I guess you can't see, got me a little bit worried. We'll find out. Oh, it does look beautiful though, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. So, just up here to the left is where the parking will be. Just before we enter the canyon and after this gravel pit here. Trees are starting to change from deciduous to the conifers. You know you're getting a bit higher. River's still going pretty good right now. Just past a big mullein stalk. You can see a lot of these sunflowers here. There's a dogbane. No, not dogbane. Hound's tongue, or dogtooth, sometimes referred to. Hound's tongue is a good medicinal. There's a couple more on the side there. Quite a few of them growing on the side of the road here. And hound's tongue root or leaves are beneficial, very much like comfrey. So bone knit, some good value there. Now right down here just below the dam there are some well, at least one serviceberry tree that I know of there. Again, it's we're past the date here, 22nd of September. It's you're not going to find serviceberries ripe anymore. And now I can see the snow on the tops of the mountains up there. So I'm thinking the snow is going to be low enough. Hey guys, by the way, if you want to find you want a great time to go to Tibble Fork, now's the time. There's nobody here. Alright, so we'll come up and go left here and head on up to Silver Lake Flats. Now, right up just after this curve, there's a little turnout up here. There are choke cherries. Actually, right there is a choke cherry, and then right there is a choke cherry. A bunch of them here. There is a little bit of a turnout right there for parking, but not much. Looks like they've pulled some of them out or something, so not as many there as there used to be. But you'll see quite a few chokes all the way on up in here, and if you take any hikes up into these trails anywhere between here and Silver Lake Flats Reservoir, you're going to find choke cherries. Just past some milkweed back there, way past its prime. But supposedly milkweed has some edible possibilities as well. Here are a couple of elderberries off to the left out here. down low. There are some up here. In fact, right by that sign there are some elderberries. This is the horse trail head. There are elderberries on that bush right there, so they haven't all been picked. That's right next to the road, of course. But so supposedly the milkweed has some edible properties. You can eat the young shoots. You can eat the flowers like broccoli. You can eat the pods when they're young. I've tried the pods before. They're just past another elderberry here. They're not totally horrible. Now this is where we get into a questionable road, especially after all the rain yesterday. I'm not seeing snow yet, so we'll go ahead and see how good the road is this year and head on up. But so I tried the pods last year. I might have got them a little bit late. The seeds were still white, hadn't gone too hard, but the pods themselves were quite a bit chewy, hard to chew, and not real pleasant. But hey, you season them right and get them when they're just barely growing, brand new, and I could see them as a survival food perhaps, and maybe even a vegetable that you can get used to if you learn how to harvest it and when, and you're watching it close. I'm not seeing a lot of acorns on the scrub oak up here. That's another one that I've been wanting to try. A lot of tannins, and they've got to be processed generally. There are oaks that don't have as bad tannins and taste a little better, but these up here are what make our deer taste so gamey. Look at that snow. Oh my heavens, that's gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Hit a little bit of mud. Most of this road is actually really good, again, for this time of year and for what it is. Most of it's gravel, but a few slightly muddy spots here, but overall pretty good road. Again, just rained overnight here and probably even a bit this morning. But it's pretty nice. This is the fun part. Here we're basically on top of the ridge. It goes down on both sides. My daughter doesn't like this section. Had to stop and show you the scenery. So there's Tipple Fork down there. This is just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I guess maybe you've seen it. I had to stop to take a picture of it myself. Is this gorgeous or what? So I'm actually, if it doesn't snow tonight, it looks like it'll be pretty good. I'm actually a little bit bummed I'm not in the clouds right now. I might have to take a hike a little further up to actually get into the clouds and enjoy a little bit of that mist. All right, Silver Lake Flats. There it is. So we continue on around to the parking lot of Silver Lake. And hopefully cross the creek there and drive up the other side. Actually just passed an elderberry. I've passed two of them right up here. That last one right next to the road, but it is heavy with berries. Probably isn't a whole lot of traffic up here if somebody wanted to take the berries off of that. This clearing off to the left and right has some elderberry in it, in them. One on the right looks a little picked over. One right off the road here looks picked and clean. And right up here is our parking lot. So there is a nice hike here up to Silver Lake. Different Silver Lake. There's an elderberry right there off the right. And it's picked clean, and there's one over by the boulder over here as well. So here's the parking lot. There's an elderberry on the other side of that table. There are restrooms here. But if we want to drive right up to them and not do much hiking, then we're going to go right on through there. And that looks a little rough. And I hope that steam is my brakes. Although I know my car's a little hot right now. Doesn't like this hard work. Oh my goodness, this road is better than I've ever seen it. Yeah, they must have really done some work here. So getting through that creek, you know, I don't have a lot of clearance, but it would be better with a four-wheel drive or high clearance vehicle, a truck. Real low clearance car might be a little tricky getting through there. There's some elderberries off to the side here. There's still, a lot of them are still flowering. That's interesting. We're gonna park right here, check them out. So right over here, we've got a few creeks down in there, and then up the road a bit there, we have some more. Isn't this gorgeous? All right, let's go check them out. So this is the blue elderberry. The ground is wet, just a little bit, but not too bad. So you can use these flowers for tinctures, or harvest the berries. Fresh washed. Oh wow, those are good. Yeah, those are good. There are a lot of ripe berries on here. There are some green ones up there that we wouldn't want to mess with, but a lot of nice ripe elderberries here. This bunch I would leave. See all the green in there? This is a good bunch to gather because they are very ripe. You can tell they're ripe because they've got the dark color and a very they're heavily coated in the white yeast there. So a lot of ripe ones, a lot of real good berries there. And then these, they don't have the white coating. They've got green berries. They've got some that are almost turning color, but they're just not ripe. They're not something that we would want to harvest or eat. Same with those there. Those are not ripe. But we've got a few trees right here. And then, like I say, there are some up the road further there as well. It's not too chilly up here. It doesn't feel too bad at all. We do have some stinging nettle. You'll often find stinging nettle next to elderberries, or at least I've noticed up here that's the case. And down here we've got some hound's tongue. Took me a while to learn that one. And of course some thistle growing there. There's your coneflower, echinacea, growing down there, the broadleaves. So, oh, and look, here's mullein. Lots of good stuff up here to check out and learn about. Well, let's go on up a little bit and see what the other trees look like. Those down there will give a few hands full of berries, but not a huge amount. This one's got quite a few on it. It's right next to the road though. Probably have to walk down to harvest it. I'm not, this road isn't traveled enough that I would be worried about the toxins in the berries. But we'd have to hike down to park somewhere off the road up here and hike down to it. If anybody wanted to harvest that one. It's full of berries. Now this road's getting a little tricky. Probably not something to bring a lightweight vehicle up. Like my Buick, somebody might be saying. I'm gonna need some clearance. I've got enough, I'm not too worried. But there's another little pull-out small parking lot up here that has a lot of elderberries next to it, and I want to check those trees out and see how they're doing. So that's where I'm heading. Not a road my wife would appreciate here. Yeah, and I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to hike up to those. See how well I can do this going backwards, huh? Right. So there's a little turnout here, kind of a camping spot. Well, I think it is a camping spot. And I'm going to just park here, get out and walk a little bit. This is a long episode, isn't it? Nice and quiet up here. It's really quite pleasant. Sun, slightly chilly, but not too bad. So I can see the tops of some of the elderberries up there. Oh, somebody came up to do some practicing. So, this is one elderberry that I was thinking about. It's got a lot of green on it. And then, alright, so here's another elderberry. It looks like it's been picked pretty clean. That one looks like it's been abused a bit. There are campsites down in there that have some possibly that we might be able to look at. But let's talk a little bit about identifying the elderberry. You'll notice it's got a leaflet. This whole thing, pull one off here and show you. That's the leaf. The whole thing there is the leaf. So it's got several leaflets opposite, right across from each other, and then one going off the tip there. So that's your elderberry leaf. They will be not always with these variations in shape to it necessarily, but a little bit of a toothy and pointed leaf, long, narrow leaves. And then one of the easiest things to identify an elderberry is look inside and you'll see this pith. Right there, you can see that pith. And it's always going to have that in the middle of the trunks, branches, and stems. No matter how big this trunk gets, I've seen elderberry trunks several inches in diameter. They all have that pith. And so that's an easy way to identify them as well. So, I think I will go check some of these campsites and see what we have in those. So here's a fun little treat that I found here next to this down tree. These beautiful berries. They are edible. Notice the leaf pattern. Again, we've got a leaflet here. Opposite leaves. This is not the same as an elderberry. If you were to cut that stem, you are not going to have pith in the middle of this. It's going to be a wood all the way through. This is mountain ash. Absolutely gorgeous berries. And they taste worse than ash. But they're edible. If we were to take these and mix them in with apples and make a sauce out of it, add lots of sugar or something, then they would be edible. Or if you'd like to just see somebody squirm, then let them taste one of those. They're not going to hurt you. Right over here we have a serviceberry tree. And I had to show you because it does have some berries on it. So right here, you can see a little berry. A little one right up there. And right there. And we'll see if I can get a good picture of that. So the serviceberry or sarvisberry or Juneberry or Saskatoon, many names, and I don't memorize the scientific name, but they will often have this orange, I think it's a fungus that grows on these trees, but that's a sign of the serviceberry. You'll usually see that kind of an orange yellow marking on the leaf. These leaves are nice and smooth on the back end, and then on the front end they will have a toothy texture to them. Oblong leaves, and this is an example of a berry with a crown. You can see the crown there. So, like a blueberry or the bottom of an apple, if it has a crown, you know it's edible. Doesn't mean that it's tasty, but it is edible. And then right down here, all over the ground, we have the Oregon grape. And it often will have, especially in cold weather, the red leaves, or red on the green leaves. And oftentimes you have to get down here underneath in order to see the berries. And so that's how you'll find those a lot of times. And I'm not seeing any obvious berries here, or grapes rather, from the Oregon grape. So up here in this little camp spot is where I parked. It's just absolutely beautiful up here, and there's an elderberry down in there, a few more along the tree line down there. The ones that I was just looking at were back up behind me there, and then the ones we stopped at earlier are down the road there a little bit. Let's go see if this one has any. Well, that's somebody's favorite tree. That's been heavily harvested. It's been cut. All the berries have been cut off, so we need to maybe try the others down lower and see what's there. Somebody beat me to them. So this is the tree that was right next to the road. A lot of stinging nettle here. Pretty old. I wouldn't be too worried about it touching my head. So this is part of why I like to carry a sharp knife. That's why what got me started on the Viper Sharp product was always wanting to have a sharp knife. You just cut the entire group of berries off, which is what people have done on the other ones that I've seen up above there. What you're generally looking for is something that looks like that, very white. And you're going to just cut it off right there. And then freeze them. Freeze the whole thing just like that, and then they'll easily come off later to use them and if you want to dry them. This looks like a pretty good group here. I'm on the downside of this hill, but that's a good group of berries right there. A few more there that are really good. And these are not the most ripe. That's they've got some green ones in there. But these right back here, those are good and ripe. So a few minutes and got quite a few from that tree. There's quite a lot still left here. Some people will say don't eat them raw, but I've never had a problem with it. Those are good. Wrong time of year to be harvesting nettles, unfortunately. Those don't look too bad, the little ones, little leaves there, but spring, I understand, is the best time to harvest the nettle. And that's something that we use for breathing and allergies and stuff as well. So there you have it. That and this road isn't busy enough to be too worried about vehicles. I just pulled off to the side there, and there are quite a few here on this tree, and then we've got another one there and another one right down there. So here are elderberries, and then right down there are a few more that have berries on them. So there you have it. There are some elderberries still up here in late September this year. Some of them are still green and some of them are even in flower, so definitely some possibilities of gathering a few, but it's not something that's going to offer gallons and gallons of elderberries necessarily. Yeah, these trees down here have quite a bit on them, so I would say there's enough for half a dozen to a dozen people to get maybe a half a pound to a pound of elderberries, perhaps. And hiking around up in here, you can find some in other places possibly. So back through the creek we go. The camera doesn't really show what I'm driving over here. It is a little bit worrisome, but I guess I've got enough clearance, so